notes and GABA balance. Um, GABA is the brain's main calming neurotransmitter. So GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid. So this is how you say it: gamma aminobutyric acid. GABA is the brain's main calming neurotransmitter. It helps reduce stress, anxiety, and overactivity. Balanced GABA equals mental clarity, emotional control, better sleep, and inner peace. Imbalances in GABA can lead to anxiety, racing thoughts, insomnia, and emotional dysregulation. THC interacts with the endocannabinoid system, which influences GABA. Too much can dull or overstimulate your brain's natural rhythm. Use THC mindfully. Using THC mindfully prevents long-term disruption of GABA and supports spiritual focus rather than dependency. Proper use of THC medicinally, not recreational. THC is a tool, not a toy, meant to open pathways of insight, creativity, and deep reflection. Medicinally means using a substance with a sacred intention and awareness, not for escape or numbness. Used consciously, THC can enhance meditation, deepen emotional processing, aid in energy recall, or cleansing, support shadow work and trauma reflection. It should be used during specific spiritual moments, not constantly. It should be used after journaling, breath work, or to amplify sound healing or hemisync. Overuse equals to spiritual burnout and GABA depletion. Discipline is key. THC in weed boosts dopamine and alters GABA slash glutamate balance. At first, weed can enhance GABA like effects, making you feel calm or euphoric. But with chronic use, your brain produces less GABA naturally, becomes less sensitive to it. You may feel more anxious, paranoid, or emotional flat without weed. What happens when you quit? Your GABA system needs to rebalance. You might feel agitated, restless, or foggy at first. That's the recovery phase. After about 1 to 3 weeks, GABA receptors start waking up and your natural calm starts returning. THC levels are way higher than they used to be. So starting off with era, 1970s to 80s, the average THC level was 1 to 3%, 1990s 4 to 6%, 2000s 8 to 12%. Today, 20 to 35%, and 70 to 90% in carts, wax, and dabs. That's 10 times or more the psychoactive power compared to old school weed. Modern THC is designed to flood and linger in your brain. THC binds mainly to CB1 receptors in your brain, especially areas like the prefrontal cortex. I always mess up this word. Amygdala, the hippocampus. New weed, especially high potency strains and concentrates like carts, dabs, are formulated to bind tighter and longer to these receptors. This causes prolonged stimulation of dopamine, emotional processing, short-term short-term memory centers, meaning higher highs, longer afterglow or brain fog, more difficulty detoxing. 3. Carts and extracts bypass your body's filters. Smoke from flower is partially filtered by heat, lungs and combustion. Carts, quote unquote vape pens, and extracts go straight into your bloodstream with super concentrated THC, often altered with synthetic additives, cutting agents, flavor chemicals. This allows rapid and deeper saturation of your cannabinoid receptors. Modern weed overstimulates, then desensitizes the endocannabinoid system. Your brain naturally creates endocannabinoids, like, I always mess this word up as well, anandamide, for sleep, pain, mood, and hunger. Too much external THC from modern weed equals your body stops making its own cannabinoids, shrinks or desensitizes receptors. So, yes, your body does make its own cannabinoids. Result: you can feel numb, anxious, unmotivated when not high. A withdrawal loop. Summary of modern weed's design. Old weed natural 1 to 5%. Modern weed 20 to 90% THC levels. Old weed balanced with CBD. Modern weed often CBD removed or very low. Old weed quick come down. New weed, modern weed, long receptor binding and foggy come down. Old weed, gentler effects. Modern weed, more intense dopamine crash. Old weed, less addictive. Modern weed, more habit forming, especially with carts. Why this matters spiritually and energetically? Modern weed overstimulates your systems, leaving you dependent on a fake version of peace. It makes stillness boring, kills your chi, your chai, which is your chakra system, dulls intuition, and blocks real energetic upgrades, downloads, retention energy, and divine focus. Modern weed versus old weed, the real breakdown. Why does weed feel different now? Why is it harder to quit? Why does it mess with your head and energy more than it used to? THC has skyrocketed. Back in the day, weed had around 2 to 5% THC. Now, regular dispensary strains sit at 20 to 35%, and carts and dabs push that number to 70 to 90%. So if you're wondering why your highs are overwhelming now, you're not weak. The weed is just chemically weaponized compared to the past. It's engineered to bind to your brain longer. THC targets the CB1 receptors in your brain, the ones linked to memory, focus, emotions, and dopamine. Old weed would hit those receptors and fade after a while. New, it's built to stay locked in, keeping you sedated, distracted, and foggy, sometimes for days. Carts and extracts bypass your body's natural filters, which we already went over. Smoking flower still has some limitations, but cart wax and oils, they're concentrated. They skip the natural filters and go straight to the bloodstream. Faster hit, deeper saturation, stronger dependency. You're not just taking a puff, you're hitting a lab grade psychoactive. Your body's natural system gets hijacked. Yes, we went over your body naturally makes cannabinoids like anandamide, the bliss molecule, but when you flood your system with THC constantly, your brain says, I don't need to make my own anymore. So it stops producing. Now you're not high and you're numb, anxious, or empty. That's withdrawal, even if it's emotional or spiritual. It's not balanced anymore. Old weed had CBD to balance the THC. New weed, mostly bred to remove CBD and boost the high. So there's no break, just gas. And that gas burns out your nervous system and spirit. Finally, this isn't about shaming weed. It's about understanding what you're really smoking. You're not lazy, you're not tripping, you're not crazy. You're sensitive, and your body knows this new weed is made to keep you hooked. If you are trying to level up, unlock peace, and let your natural brain chemistry rebuild, then taking a break, even temporarily, might be the smartest, most powerful move you ever make. So, let me go ahead and provide you with a detox guide or some next steps to maybe think about taking a detox. This ain't your uncle's blunt. Let's decode what's really happening. Like we went over, old weed has 2 to 5% THC. Today's weed has 20 to 35%, and carts hit 90%. You're not just getting high, you're hitting the throttle on your soul. The highs are intense, but so are the crashes. Everything unnatural comes with a cost. Respect the dose or lose the focus. The high stays longer than you think. THC locks in. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. THC locks into your CB1 brain receptors, as we went over before, but new strains are bred to stay longer, as we went over before. Carts, which I really mainly want to talk about, lab grade chemistry, carts, wax dabs, they're hyper concentrated, and like we said before, bypass natural defenses like heat and plant fiber. That's not smoking. That's full neurological hijack. You're hitting something your ancestors never touched. If the plant spirit is removed, what are you even inhaling? A ghost of an addiction. Your body's natural bliss gets blocked. That's why when you stop, you feel unmotivated, depressed, disconnected. You didn't lose yourself. You just haven't given your body time to rebalance. The high isn't the power, the recovery is. Real alchemists know the cycle. Balance has been reached. Old school cannabis had CBD to buffer the high. Today's weed stripped of CBD. That's like flying a plane with no wings. Just rocket boosters. You go up fast, but the crash is real. Elevation without grounding is spiritual ego. You don't need height, you need harmony. Detox gems getting your frequency back. If you want your mind, memory, mood, and magnetism back, start with this. Daily detox practices. Spring or filtered water. At least a gallon a day. It does work. It does help you reset your nervous system for you to be more disciplined and quit things that you know are vices easier. Chlorophyll drops or sea moss. Mineral repair receptors. Sunlight plus deep breathing. Cleanse the aura and lungs. Magnesium, zinc, and B vitamins. Nervous system rebuilders. Journaling plus silence rewires mental chatter. CBD or ashwagandha. Calms without clouding. Energy transmutation. Cold showers equal nerve reset. Semen retention equals energy containment. Movement or sweat equals toxin release. Breath work equals spirit reconnection. Every craving is a coded message. Translate it, don't depress it. Let me phrase that. Don't suppress it. You're not weak, you're just waking up. This isn't about quitting weed. This is about taking your spirit back from a substance designed to trap your light. Every time you say, not today, you're voting for a clearer mind, a sharper soul, and a magnetic aura. You're the medicine. Weed was just a messenger. Smoking weed too often can disconnect you from your body's natural rhythm, inner guidance, and sacred sexual energy. The spirit of the plant can be respected or abused. Too much too often becomes noise, not signal. Retention builds your magnetic field. Chronic overstimulation drains it. Holding your seed increases auric density. It's not just semen, it's spiritual currency. When you ejaculate unconsciously or too often, your field weakens. But when you hold with awareness, your presence expands. Because all of this ties into quitting your vices. Remember that. Weed can numb you to your own spiritual downloads. Silence becomes harder, boredom feels unbearable, but boredom is a threshold. Beyond it is real creativity, vision, clarity. Water holds memory. Most city water is recycled through metal, trauma, and synthetic compounds. Your skin, your energy, and your clarity reflect the water you drink and the air you breathe. The grayish skin tone and dull energy some people carry comes from chronic toxic exposure, inside and out. You aren't crazy for feeling like something is off. Your higher self is just loud enough to call it out. Detox isn't just physical, it's energetic. Fasting, grounding, sunlight, clean water, and silence restore your field faster than any product. Your mind doesn't need more stimulation, it needs clarity. You are not broken, you are just remembering who you are under the fog. The plant is sacred, but your soul is sovereign. Don't let the high replace the rise. And that wraps that up. But I also wanted to go to my notes